There's some very disturbing news out there that US citizens are saying that their passports have been reported lost, stolen, or canceled after they get overseas. And the main reason this is concerning to many people is actually for 5 reasons. First, that these passports are being lost or stolen without their knowledge. Second, because the National Passport Agency and US government authorities don't seem to know why this is happening. Airlines have been saying that they're not involved because it's not their job to confirm the validity of passports. And also, there's no way to check if your passport is lost or stolen before you leave. So once you get abroad, if you get deported, well, that costs you a lot of money, time, and stress. Make sure you have travel insurance. So let's break all of this down, look at what happened and what you can do to try to prevent this from happening to you. So what's happened here is that there's a lot of videos out on TikTok and social media of people sharing their individual stories of what happened to them when they found out that their passports were canceled or their global entry was revoked. Or in one case, one woman said that she was not even found anymore in the system. So one person said that he flew halfway around the world only to find out that Interpol, so the international police, had that his passport was flagged as lost or stolen. There was another person who landed in Rome only to find out that Italian officials flagged her passport upon arrival. And then another TikToker reported that officials at JFK Airport in New York confiscated her passport after she returned from Spain. So the first person, Parker, who actually flew out of Miami, where I am right now, he flew to Thailand with his girlfriend, and he said that immigration officials in Thailand flagged his passport and then deported him. So the whole situation was very confusing. What he found out later after he got back was that his passport was flagged as lost within a month after he applied for it. So technically it was flagged as lost or stolen before he received it. But the thing is that the only way to report your passport lost or stolen is online or by mail, and you actually need a few pieces of really personal information to be able to do this. It'll ask for your name, date of birth, social security number, address, and your passport number if known. So actually I have my passport number memorized. I've memorized my last 3 or 4 passport numbers. So that's really important if you travel a lot, or if you even get a new passport, to just try to remember it as you would your address or phone number. So that way, if anything like this happens, you know your passport number. But what was scary here is that when he contacted the agencies in the US when he got back, they had no idea what he was talking about because they had never heard of such a situation before. He contacted the National Passport Information Center, and they did not have his passport flagged as lost or stolen. So it was only the Interpol that had this information. So this is very strange, and it's still an unknown situation, but it seems like he was able to get it resolved, but people still don't really know why it happened. In the case of Marcy, who found out her passport was flagged when she arrived in Rome, she was able to get back to the US, but she had to swear under oath that she never reported the passport stolen, and she still had to pay another $165 to get her new passport. In the end, this was a big headache for her, and she was just saying that no passport should be able to be canceled by someone else. Another woman in the US named Rose said that her information was wiped from the passport database, and I watched 3 different updates that she had about her passport being lost and about her global entry being revoked, and that is still a developing story, but she ended up going to a lot of different governmental offices, talking to her congressional representative, and she was able to go in person to the National Passport Agency and get a new passport, but that still doesn't explain the mystery of what happened. And then in the other scenario with the TikToker who had her passport confiscated at JFK when she returned from Spain, she said that she found that her document was marked as lost years earlier, and she had still used it to book international travel and even to apply for global entry. So there seems to be some lack of communication between the different departments and very strange, potentially clerical errors, as people have been saying. But the warning here is that Getting deported can be costly. Having to apply for an emergency passport can be costly. The whole situations can be very stressful. And so far, there's no general consensus about how any of these seemingly unrelated situations happened. The first thing that's alarming is that without a valid passport, you can't leave the country. So this is a really good reason to have more than one passport. And I know a lot of people have a plan B, have a plan C, want to get citizenship in other countries so that this can't happen to them. For many years, it was, kind of a far-fetched idea that something like this might happen to you, but now it seems to be happening to quite a few people all at the same time for all different reasons. So it's not a bad idea to have a second passport, second citizenship from another country. Doesn't mean you have to renounce your US citizenship, but if something should happen to your passport, if it gets lost or stolen, or if it's reported lost or stolen, at least you have a backup passport or two that you can still travel on. But if that's not possible for you, well, you can contact the National Passport Agency, and we'll leave the number down below, and you can check to see what is the status of your passport. But the issue here is that in the case of Parker, who went to Thailand, he did contact the US Passport Agency, and they said there was no issue with his passport, but there was on the Interpol side. So you don't want to have to be contacting the international police asking about your passport if you have no reason to. Hopefully it just works when you get to the airport and when you get across the border. So a lot of the people that had these issues are saying that they wish there was some way to check the status of your passport so that you're not finding out after you travel abroad. If you are already abroad and you're having this issue or you're concerned, then you could contact your US Embassy or consulate abroad through the Department of State as well. You can find out where those consulates are. And if you're worried about your global entry, you could always contact that as well, and make sure that you have these agencies and global entry on your safe list so that emails from them don't get sent to your spam folder. So in the case of Rose, she received an email from global entry at around, I think it was 2:17 a.m. local time in California, reporting this status change. So make sure that you see those emails if anyone from these agencies contact you. And you can also reach out to your U.S. congressional representative if you are concerned about this. But what happened in a few of these cases with Parker and Rose is that they were able to go in person to the National Passport Agency and get things resolved that way. So if you're unable to renew your passport online or apply for a new passport, which is what happened to Rose allegedly, then you could go in person. One other person recommended having your birth certificate with you, or a copy of your birth certificate that she says that she used as proof of identity to get back into the country. I don't usually travel with my birth certificate, but I think having multiple forms of identification, such as a national ID or a driver's license, is always helpful in case something happens to your passport. And when you are traveling abroad, make sure to have your passport, your ID, credit cards separate. So if one bag gets lost or stolen, or if you get pickpocketed, or if something happens, then you have a backup ID there. Are you concerned about your passport being lost or stolen, or has it happened to someone you know? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe to stay on top of major issues affecting travelers, and to find out why European and international tourists decided not to travel to the US in the last year, watch this video next.